Hi, I'm Danny. The field was originally set up about 10 years ago, and the way I wanted to set it up was moringa on the outside as a windbreak, passion fruit on the fence line, and then I planted dragon fruit, and in between the dragon fruit I planted pineapples, and then along this row right here is what I call Banana Boulevard. So I wanted to try to set up what I call a food forest. A lot of compatible plants that can grow together in a high density setting. One of the neatest ones out here, of course, is this sugar dragon right here. This sugar dragon is what I call the SD9, meaning on one arm last year, I had 9 flowers and 9 pieces of fruit.
And they all set. I was here.
Every
I came
one
and
of
saw
them
it.
set. Paul saw them. But you can kind of see this plant has got some type of different genetics rolling through it because the girth and the thickness of it. Additionally, I think it's doing very, very well because it has the shade of not only the banana, but the moringa. Sugar dragons don't like this deep, deep yellowing and a lot of full sun. I have other ones, of course, in full sun, and you can see kind of the sunburn on them, the yellowing, and losing that pigmentation.
And also, you said the moringa tree, that's a deciduous tree, so you're getting the benefits of full sun in the winter, but then it's going to create a canopy for you in the summer,
From
into
spring
the fall,
and summer
right?
into the fall.
That's
so,
perfect.
Yes. And, but no, this SD9, I've been growing this plant for a little over 10 years now. The original mother stock came from Gephardt and Linda up in Fallbrook. And of course, they've got their stock from Paul Thompson, who developed this plant. So I have a direct lineage and a direct heritage that's provable, who bred this plant and where it came from. And then of course I grew it up the best I could.
That's awesome.
This last row, or this bottom row, is of course the ones I planted first, about 10 some odd years ago. You can see a lot of cuttings that I've taken. Some did so well. We had a big heat spill out last year. And
Really
some just
late
got
in the
fried.
year, too.
Some just got fried. They couldn't handle it. And so what's real important with your dragon fruit out there, try to grow them under some type of indirect sunlight, some type of canopy. Use natural plants, the bananas, the moringas, Persian mulberries, or what I'm growing is a lot of Mexican sunflowers. And you can grow them up to about 8-10 feet, 10 feet across, and plant them in the right area so you'll have that shadow of indirect light on your dragon fruit.
Kind of like in the afternoon, a little bit of shade.
Absolutely.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, they don't like that full sun.
Okay.
And if they do, well, in fact, one of them really does, and we're going to talk about that one pretty soon, and that one's called decay.
All right, we're back here with Danny, and he has Pride of Fallbrook, and his plant looks much better than mine, much healthier. So tell us why, Danny. What's your secret?
Well, you know, most people will either overwater or underwater these plants. Most people will not spread much fertilizer liquid or on a drench or do a foliar spray, or as I mentioned earlier, a little bit using some mag, you know, to get some fruit set. This plant, I think, with the Pride of Fallbrook, and as with most dragon fruit, indirect sunlight, okay, and not too much water, and yeah, I got a little bit of discoloring and some rust, some early morning dew. It made it through a pretty rough winter. We had a couple nights of some frost, so it's real hardy, like the K's and the sugar dragons. They just kind of dust off the frost. But I've been doing a compost tea run on this plant for like the last 6 months. So I'm getting some real nice juvenile growth. Of course, it does need to be kind of staked up a little bit better. This plant's only been growing less than a year. And so, you know, I guess I must be doing something right.
Yeah, mine's over a year old, and it's not as big as this, so I'm going to need a cutting from you, Danny.
I think we can work something out with you. Okay. But no, outside of that, it's I like to do the compost tea runs, and then I use once a month in the compost tea, I use a seaweed extract. And seaweed grows about 1 foot a year in the ocean. So if you can kind of get into a seaweed extract type plant, fertilizer product, use both on a drench down on the base of it, and then of course on a spray. If you are going to spray any dragon fruit, wait till right about dusk. Do not spray in the morning, do not spray midday. These plants will start photosynthesizing at night, meaning their guard cells and the stomata will open, and it's called cam photosynthesis. Very similar to, of course, pineapples as well. So the reason why you want to spray at dusk or right as it's getting dark, that plant is now photosynthesizing. So if you're going to spray on a foliar, those guard cells and those stomata are open. And that fertilizer and that product that you're putting onto that plant is going to be absorbed into that plant when it is actually really photosynthesizing. So no spraying in direct light or in the mornings or midday.
Okay, Danny, tell us the story of Kay.
Okay, folks, welcome back. This plant, the Kay, was developed in Fallbrook by a grower named Gephardt. Gephardt's last name started with a K. So that's how we decided we were just going to just call it the K. I think it's a hybrid of a Guatemalan and something. I'm not real sure. This plant's been growing, like I said, for about 10 years now. It's the last 4 years, it takes about 5 years to get fruit set. The last 4 years, it's really starting to just pop out some fruit set. It's interesting for me is that this is in full sun and it doesn't get the yellowing and the sunburning-ish look like the Sugar Dragons will, or the American Graffitis, or the Physical Graffitis, or American Beauties and Physical Graffitis. Most other varieties really can't handle that full sun. This K is so tough, it never had any sun damage at all. Additionally, about 4 years ago, I had a lot of frost in this upper part of this hill here, and some of the Sugar Dragons held out pretty good. The Physical Graffitis got a little whacked out, but this K acted as if no big deal, just shrugged it all off. So when Gephardt developed it, he didn't really have many other cuttings. And I started off, of course, with this one cutting, and now here I am, 10 plus years later with this big mother plant. To my knowledge, this is the only one that's in this area. And
the mother, the original mother, died from a frost, right?
Correct. That one did die from a frost in Fallbrook. So to my knowledge, there's no other mother plant than this one right here. And it's a little bit of a slow grower in the beginning, but after about year 3, 4, it just takes off. And it really just goes and goes and goes. You can see all kind of the new juvenile growth in the fruiting wood this year, this fruiting wood for this year, all down below here. The other thing really you got to really watch out with this K is that it's got some really nasty spines on them.
It does.
So what is important is always be wearing some type of protection, some gloves, and respect it, respect the plant. And lastly, when I do take the cuttings, I'm taking things from down below. I'm trying to raise the canopy on this, and most dragon fruit want to be grown up about 3 to 4 feet, and then lollipopped at the top. And hence that's how I do a lot of the staking with the rebar and the hog wire at the top to kind of get that lollipop look on the top. Outside of that, this K, there were a few months, of course, during the winter when I get the rains. I don't do any watering. For fertigation wise, I like to do some compost tea. I like to use some bat guano, but it really helps quite a bit. About 3 times a year is some horticultural Epsom salt around the base. Epsom salt is pure mag, And when you have a micronutrient of mag working its way through the vascular system up through the xylem and phloem of this plant, you're gonna get a lot heavier fruit set. So folks, when you're out there and you're thinking about how am I gonna fertilize, how am I gonna take care of my plants, what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong, look into that horticultural Epsom salt, that's pure mag, 3 times a year, spring, summer, kind of late fall. Okay, so this dragon fruit is called the Florida Red. I picked it up from a grower down in Bonita. The plant's been growing for, this is the 3rd year now. And so I had about a 18-inch cutting and it just took off. It's got some real nice girth, not too deeply lobed, growing in full sun. However, you know, a couple of issues with it in full sun. First of all, you can kind of see the new juvenile growth in the fruiting wood for this year, a little bit more yellowing and losing pigmentation for it. I really think that I should have this plant more in a indirect sunlight. Additionally, there's a couple little rust spots on this one right in here, or on this side in here. And if that's when the water hits the plant early in the morning and then the sun comes and hits it, and it leaves these little rust spots on it. You don't need to prune those out. These plants are nearly bulletproof. But what I did with this one, as I got it to come up, I got about 4 different pieces of the arms to come up to the top. So this is where what we call doing the lollipop. These are gonna all grow up on the other side of this and then lollipop down.
How do you care for your sugar dragons now that spring is coming and you grow them in full sun? What are some of your strategies?
Well, you could see clearly the difference from last year where this got kind of burnt up and then these get kind of dead and dried. And so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll come and just kind of clean them up like this first. Second of all, I'll make sure that, hey, look, I'm getting some nice juvenile growth, as you can see right here. But I've got these longer arms here. This one here is about done growing for what I need it to do. So what I like to do is I'll go ahead and prune out at about a 45 degrees, north facing. And what I've done now is I've stopped this arm from growing. And by doing that, this next flower and fruiting season, come June, these are gonna start really popping with a lot more fruits. And once you start to kind of prune the ends, when they've kind of lollipopped up, and this arm is a good 5 foot long. So anywhere between about a 4 to 5 foot, maybe even 6 foot arm, you'll prune like this one here. See how I'm getting this nice juvenile growth right here? It's gonna be the fruiting wood. However, if I really want this thing to produce a lot of fruit, I'm gonna go ahead and prune it just like that on the end. And all you really do is you just prune off just a little bit of that, okay?
Just the tip.
Just to tip it.
At a 45.
At a 45 north facing.
Why is north facing?
You don't want it
important?
southwest facing because that's the way the field has been set up. You don't want that where you've pruned it to be sunburned and to be get direct light. On a north facing prune like that, this at a 45 on a down slope, this piece is not going to get much light. So it's not going to damage this plant. Okay? And speaking of that, this time of the year, when you're walking up to your plants, ask yourself 2 questions. What am I doing and why am I doing it? Okay? Your plants are going to react to what you do. You can overwater, you can underwater, you can not fertilize, you can have this in full sun and this in full sun. I'm getting some yellowing across here, a little bit of the sunburn. However, we're getting all this new beautiful juvenile growth too, as you can see all along this arm.
Is that yellowing something to be concerned with in this case, or
Not really. With the sugar dragons, they're so tough.
It's kind of the cetaceous DNA, I think, that's inside it. Some of the Selenocereus.
And if you look more towards the bottom of the plant and it's still in full sun, you know, right in this main trunk, there's no yellowing. And if you go onto the north side of the plant, you won't get any yellowing because it's not in full sun. Sugar dragons really like more indirect sunlight. However, a few of these that I have here are doing very well in direct sunlight. Of course, we talked about the SD9 earlier. That's all shaded with moringa and the bananas. And so I really recommend this time of year trying to get indirect sunlight, doing some early pruning so you can get some nice fruit set, getting down on the base and getting some mag in there and some other nutrients, bat guano, seaweed extract, compost tea, and then sit back and enjoy your plants. Okay? Thanks, folks.